The coordinate system disapproves of three features of the current global order. If there are, what do you think they might be? The following items are listed in no particular order. When they see you with a beautiful young woman, when you push your limits, when you are not the clean type, they are really vulnerable. Instead of living your best life without women, you'll find women doing well. Let's just say they're unhappy. If you do any of these three things, if you know what I mean. You've heard all this before. I want you to recognize this truth in the depths of your own heart. The fact that you are an IST and an innocent, and to what extent you are a midterm scary guy. Being successful in your endeavors and taking pride in your accomplishments. Let go of worrying about the past and start living a good life today. Now that they're past their prime, you can tell the spoiled brats that you're not going to help them. Adopt a nomadic mindset and absorb every drop of independence this world has to offer. Without the financial support of men, most women would be abject and dead by age 35. Glass-shattering thinkers might take note of these college-educated women's high incomes, fancy cars, and spacious mansions, and conclude that they've achieved success. We can't blame the hard work of those who get ahead, but we can't ignore the fact that a minority of older women dominate the rest of us financially. This channel is not suitable for this language. Instead, we examine the habits of the majority of this group, the older women who are strong and independent. That said, these boots clearly have a running focus design. Women who try to imitate men usually fail, so I have no use for them. It's important to remember that few women start a Fortune 500 company. The vast majority of them are wage slaves who can rely on their masa or employer for all their financial needs. These individuals must have a bachelor's degree before being considered for these positions. Due to cost constraints and the fact that women have disrupted their families in order to gain their current status, which may include jobs and a seemingly good lifestyle, most of these women took out loans and ended up being slaves to the loan companies. Loans, credit cards, mortgages, and car payments are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the debt these women carry. It looks like they are winning from the outside. But if these taxes hadn't divorced Scrape of Kingdom and started using their money and fame forever, they'd be in a lot of pain right now. These ladies are about to go to zero. They may be feminists at heart, but they have given up climbing the corporate ladder or starting their own business and are content to settle down in the locker room every day. Coach Greg Adams was the inspiration for these guys. After realizing that life is more than just being a woman's farm horse, these men took out their life savings and started a business for themselves. When they saw this, the women were furious. They rode the Black Hawk at peak efficiency, expecting Mr. Simp the Monkey to knock them down the aisle at the finish line. However, those days are long gone, as modern men cannot tolerate such restrictions. Instead, they go abroad and have children. They enable people to support themselves and their families. Whether it is blue-collar or white-collar, men are more common. Men influence the lives of other men and spread RP. More and more men are adopting monkish routines to focus on themselves and protect themselves from distractions. These taxes are frustrated that men are doing well and falling behind economically and socially. Men are too busy trying to be successful in life to waste time with a worthless person who wants to ruin everything you've worked so hard for, even if that person is an older manager who desperately needs men's money so he can get out of the hole they dug themselves. Upon waking up, husbands find their spouse unhappy and anxious, their worst fears come true, and isolated in the financial and emotional hardships they have imposed on themselves in order to please no. 2. Immature single women are crazy about teenage stories about potential partners. Sit with us for a while and think about how heartbroken a lonely old woman is when a man grabs a beautiful retired middle school student. Reference to a college does not imply that the speaker is referring to a college for young women. This phrase appears to be about your opponent, but it was actually invented by Coach Greg Adams. But I'll borrow something to prove my point. If you are stronger than your opponent, she will hate you more than anything. The older will try to bring you down again. Wealthy older men will take advantage of young women financially by donating their money to them. If they can convince a young man to settle down, he will have to struggle for years to come. Because young people usually don't have a life together. Any wealthy older man who dates a community college woman will be publicly shamed until he learns his lesson. The person has been labeled a metaphor that the happiest person on the planet is a Virgo, as Trump alluded to. They will demean a person with every insult in the book. Masculinity will turn all his supporters against him. They want to control men's lives and money, so they do. It's so self-centered. A surefire way to work against women is to go against the grain. And when you tell them I'll never get a girlfriend, get married, have kids, raise someone else's kids, you see steam coming out of their ears, blood coming out of their eyes, and anger coming out of their mouths. If you finally decide to leave, they will yell at you and ask why you don't want anything to do with Saxes and Shaw. Rest assured, MU, any woman, marry or not, will feel the same when you say these things to her. Did you know that when men completely revoke their permission to do something, no two men react the same, just do it? Every woman is associated with sisterhood, in one way or another, when dealing with men. So they have to work together to get the best deal. If women do not have adequate sisterhood, more men will leave their wives and families in search of their own happiness. Even with a male partner, women are vulnerable. He can leave her, she can't find anyone else. Because most men are either monks or too poor to afford wives to ensure that everyone has a chance to be cared for and rescued by a man should something go wrong. Women need to come together and try to control men. Therefore, no woman can get a man out of their relationship. Whether married, a member of the Rainbow Coalition, or a radical feminist, every woman knows that men are her last and best hope for a life of misery and suffering. Is it possible to work for someone who has a negative attitude towards men who are successful in all walks of life? Tell me. Those who will keep you from letting go of those who need you more than they do. They worry about their future because they watch you eat steak at an expensive restaurant and bankruptcy is just an emergency. Do you really think they can let you go now because they can get your full salary? Do you really think they'll let you go? They don't want to set your brother free, so they'll curse you until you change your mind about running a plantation. You will use any means necessary, including Masa and his dogs, who will drag you back to the plantation. You are afraid that you will succeed and become independent. In other words, you have to pay maintenance fees for it. Once your feet are bound, you will not be able to escape easily. That's why they send you off with a divorce decree. How much do you know about me? This is a harsh reality that all men have to face. No one likes to witness your mental pain. Fortunately, there are multiple options to choose from. You can choose to live as a monk or become self-employed. But you have to promise me that once you leave the plantation, you will never come back. That's for today's video. See you until the next one, and as long then stay noble men.